So the Jackal MWMIC, Medium Weapons Mount Installation Kit. Basically, WMIC stands for the kit that you stick on it that means you can then mount weapons on the thing. Otherwise, it's just a Jackal-like vehicle, four-wheel drive, high mobility. It's mine blast protected, which means if you hit a mine or an IED, although the vehicle might get disabled, the crew should survive. It's also got some light armour on the sides. It can stop a 5.56 bullet. 7.62 will probably go straight through it. Any heading of that will probably neutralise or destroy the vehicle. So lightly armoured, but it's not an infantry fighting vehicle. It's not a warrior. It's certainly not a tank. So it can't withstand a decent weight fire coming its way. The best cover it's going to get is the ground, just the same as if it was a light infantryman. It needs to be putting into decent fire positions, and I'll cover that in a minute. Your best defence is the speed. It's highly mobile. It can travel very fast, both across rough terrain, across country, and on roads. And it can also, being a vehicle, carry a fair amount of kit. Obviously, weapon systems itself provide a significant amount of firepower to augment what you'd normally get as a section when dismounted. So you got on these ones HMGs and GMGs on the roof, which gives you a massive force multiplier over and above what you normally get as a dismounted section. Plus you get the dismountable GPMG in the commander seat. Typically, obviously, you dismount and fight that with that one on foot, but game things means we can't actually take it off. So essentially that gives us an extra GPMG to play with as a section. Not a lot we can do about it. Plus then, of course, you get all the other kit and equipment that you can carry in these vehicles. So spare NLAWs, 84s, 7.62 and 5.56 link for your machine guns, spare rounds, spare medical equipment, mortar tubes, the light, all that sort of stuff packed into the cargo. So huge amount you can do, and typically whilst you're deploying in these ones, particularly in the SFSG role, you can do things like long-range patrols, reconnaissance, mobility fire support, getting up onto some high ground, boxing around to the flanks or rear of the enemy to put fire down on them in support of the Tier 1 operators as they go and do their thing. Also very useful for logistics, because you can cross-terrain at high speed to get back to replen, so that's something else that we might be called upon in support of the Tier 1 guys. Key points to note though is mobility. You have to think slightly wider when working in these vehicles than if you were a light infantryman. So typically as a light infantryman, your sort of area of interest is reduced between sort of 600 and 1,000 meters. 1,000, 1,100 meters being the effective range of a GPMG, give or take, and 600 meters being the effective range of your small arms weapons in a section role. So anything beyond about 1,000 meters you're usually not that interested in, because it's not something that you can cause an effect on. In vehicles, obviously you can cross 1,000 meters much quicker than you can on foot, and your HMGs and GMGs can push out quite considerable more distance than that. So you have to start thinking a little bit bigger. Use mobility to your advantage. Don't box up. Spread out, use the terrain, and think about how you can get around the flanks of the enemy to cause an effect on them. For the purpose of tonight, though, we got three now rather sorry for themselves looking tank and one damaged MWMIC out front, which is going to be our target for tonight. That is the enemy, so direction of enemy threat is to the east, and we'll be advancing towards them from the west. These three mounds here that we were hoping to use to demonstrate fire positions, unfortunately only this one closest to us is shallow enough. The rest are too steep, can't actually get the fucking vehicles up them. So what we'll do initially is just have one vehicle pull up into a fire position on the right hand side of this mound, and then the others will pull off just the other side, sit by the tanks, look back and see what you can see, and see what it looks like from the enemy's perspective. Before we run away, just talk through moving into fire positions. So clearly the ground is your best defence in a vehicle like this one, and we want to be pulling up into what's known as a hull down position. So that means that the gun on top is just poking over the top of the ridge line so it can see the enemy, and the rest of the vehicle is beneath not beneath the ground, but behind the hill. So it can't be seen by the enemy, i.e. its hull is beneath the ridge of the hill, also known as hull down. So once you're pushing into a fire position, it's important that the gunner and the driver communicate. So the gunner will be doing the talking, and he'll be telling his driver just to inch forward to the point where he can just see over the top of the hill, the gunner, and just get eyes on to the target. Common mistakes here is when the gunner feels that he needs to try and get eyes onto the near ground, just the other side of the hill. Don't do that. Leave that to the dismounted infantry. It's their job to worry about what's in your immediate front. If there's any enemy threat, just immediately the other side of the hill. They can do that. They've got very low profile. They can crawl up on their stomach, so you can't as a vehicle. So you want to be pushing up so the gunner can just get eyes on. The rest of the vehicles still in dead ground, and from the enemy's perspective, he should just see the tip of the gunner's head and the barrel of the weapon. Just enough so you can engage it without exposing the rest of the vehicle. Another common mistake we make in VCV, and actually in real life as well, is you get very focused on the enemy to your front and you forget about your flanks. Clearly, terrain like this tonight, we don't have much option, but something to think about whilst you're doing this on operations. If you are pulling up into fire position, it might be a terrific fire position to your front and the enemy can't see you and it looks grand, but then your flanks are exposed. So think about flanks, think about where the other vehicles are and other friendly forces as well.
Cool. So that's a pretty good fire position he's got here, where he can engage all of you guys, but you can't actually see the hull of his wagon, so he's well protected.
Cool. That's fire positions, and I think as Smithy found, it actually takes a couple of minutes to get yourself into a good position and quite a lot of talking, so it does take practice. If done well though, once your gunner and driver get confident, then you can do it very quickly. And it's important if you're fire maneuvering across open terrain with your vehicles, then you can put into fire positions quickly to protect the vehicle whilst getting the weapon systems onto the enemy to achieve that effect that you want. Clearly, not always do we have nice rolling terrain where you can do good fire positions. There might be times when, I don't know, you might be on a salt flat, for example. Then the only option you have, which is to turn the vehicle around 180 degrees so it's facing away from the enemy, which uses the body of the vehicle as a protection for the driver and commander. And just expose the gunner then so you can suppress the enemy with the 50 cal, and positions you nicely so you can then extract back the way you've come if you need to break contact. So that's what we're going to practice now. Just a word on formations before we go into that. Now clearly there are a number of different formations you could use. Column formational file, which is the one that we typically use as you're doing a convoy drill, one behind the other, nice and easy to command and control. You go at the speed of the vehicle in the front. And it's cheers easy. If you come under contact, you just either stop, turn around and fuck off, or you break through the contact out the other side and deal with it afterwards, which is what we've taught until now in VCB. Other formations you can use exactly the same as if you are working as a dismounted section. You could go in arrowhead formation, better effective weapon systems to the front if you're expecting an immediate enemy threat, but obviously harder for command and control, particularly in fast moving vehicles. Other things like box could be used, but again they all have different positions of the weapon systems, different command and control considerations, and if you fancy practicing them, you can do that as section training at some point. But really, for the purposes of what we teach, all you really need to know is convoy drills, which we teach on another day, and then forming a baseline. Now, with only two vehicles, this is going to be relatively straightforward. It's when there's more vehicles that it starts getting complicated. But in simple terms, you advance into contact in a nice long column. You get contact at the front. It's enemy at an obstacle shooting towards you, and you need to form a baseline to engage from the wagon. So everybody stay mounted at this point because you haven't been told to do anything else. The lead vehicle pulls 45 degrees to the right. That then protects his driver using the body of the vehicle, but it also means that his commander with the GPMG and your HMG or GMG on the roof of the vehicle can start engaging the enemy and suppressing them maximum rate of fire. Second vehicle then just pulls off to his right hand side, but turns around 180 degrees so he's facing away from the enemy. and then again the gunner starts to suppress them. At this point you've got a baseline. If you've got any other vehicles, third vehicle he'll put off to your left, same detail, 180 degrees, facing away from the enemy, ready to get out of the dodge if he needs to, and his gunner suppresses the enemy. Plenty of space and maneuverability, so give it a nice wide turn. Just pull up, 10 to 50 meters on the right hand side, spin, do a hard right turn all the way around, so you're facing look back at where you've come. No need to stop and reverse or any of that fucking around. If it's done smoothly, it should be nice and quick, and you're suppressing the enemy. At this point is then the section commander's decision what he wants to do next. So he will give fire control order exactly the same as normal. But he might then decide he's either going to dismount his guys and fight through on foot, or he's going to break contact in the vehicles and disappear. So that would be the quick battle orders that will follow up, but we'll do that in a second. First thing though, we'll just practice the contact drill.
You got contact front there.
Blast it, right. Blast.
Set. Cool, nice and simple. That's all there is to it. It's fine. And if you had a third vehicle here, pull off to your left-hand side. Say, nice wide turn, got plenty of room, and it puts you in a nice baseline, and you shouldn't have to do any reversing or mucking around. Okay, so from here, if you needed to break contact, it's very simple. You just go out the way you came in. So reverse the order of march. Last vehicle in is first vehicle out. So in this case, the Delta wagon. Once you receive the orders from your section commander to break contact, just pedal off same direction he's come from. And then the section commander's vehicles, whilst he's suppressing, will be the last one to move. So let's do that now. Break contact.
Let's go.
Cool. So that's very simple. As you can see, the whole point of doing that immediate action drill on contact enables you then to be in a position, if you need to break contact, you can just do it straight away without any fucking around. And if done slickly with a swift decision, there'll be no need to even stop. You can just spin around, turn around, go back out again the direction you come from. Minimum fuss, minimum manoeuvring. You're not sort of trying to rejig the order of march or anything. You just disappear back out again. Last thing to cover then is fighting with dismounts alongside the vehicles. So exactly the same immediate action drills on contact. So first lead vehicle 45 degrees, rear vehicle goes to the right hand side, 180 degrees, spins around. Section commander will then give his quick battle orders, so what the enemy is, his intent, what's he going to do about it, and then in this case he'll be calling for dismounts. Now remember, at this stage the driver and the gunners, you will stay mounted and you'll continue to engage the enemy. Dismounts get out and just move to the rear of the vehicle, remembering that at this point the vehicles are facing away. Only difference between that is that the lead vehicle, the Charlie vehicle, obviously you're at 45 degrees at this point, so your guys want to push off to the left-hand side, but pretty much in your vehicle it's going to be the commander +1 anyway, so just push off to the left-hand side of the vehicle so it can then spin around to its right and it won't run you over on the way out. Once the dismounts are done and he's given his fire control orders or whatever he's going to do, then the section commander has obviously choices at this point. He can either keep the vehicles where they are to provide some overwatch and to suppress the enemy whilst he fights through on foot, or he might decide that he wants to push them off to a Zulu muster. That is a location where you can dismount the remaining packs and they can rejoin on foot and just leave the vehicles in cover. Or he might decide that he wants to push them off to a fire support location to support his section while he does an assault. But again, section commander's decision at that point. Fiddy.
Nice reference there, Smithy.
Yeah. For God's sake, watch your speed equals Fiddy. Shoot him right now.
Who was it?
Russell.
Yeah, contact whenever you want. Contact front.
Right round, well.
Axis dismount. On axis 100 meters. Down rocks. Rapid fire. Watch and shoot.
Can I shoot through rabbits?
Yeah, why not?
So yeah, very straightforward. As I say, immediate action drills remain no change. If you've got other sections with you, they'll be pushing off to your left or right respectively and doing the same thing. I might push a section into fire support with their vehicles, and then we can cut your vehicles away to join them in fire support. We have plenty of options. We can use their mobility to our advantage and to cause that effect.
Right, so what we've covered then, basic characteristics of the MWMIC, some very simple drills of moving into firing positions, and then your immediate action drills when you come on actions on contact. So saying dismounted. Clearly, we also teach anti-ambush drills. That's what we used to do quite a lot, which is when you just pile on through. Section commander's cool. If it looks relatively clear to the front and he's getting contact on the flank, probably by far the easiest thing you can do is just to pile on through that contact. Get yourselves into some dead ground, sort yourselves out, and then decide what to do about it. Either aggressive counter-attack or just mug them off, bypass, and crack on with your main mission. But in this instance, if you are contacted and you can't get past them, then positioning our vehicles to give us the options. One is to break contact rapidly if we need to, or secondary to dismount and engage the enemy. All about speed and maneuver, which is why it's a drill.